Hi everybody, thanks for joining us. This is Spice Field Kitchen and we're putting up yet another video segment. I'm Steve Baker, the Chief Operating Officer, here with...
I'm Ben Bebenroth, chef and founder of the Spice Companies.
Ben, what are we doing tonight?
Well, today we're going to do a little thing I like to call putting up peppers. So we're going to do some roasted peppers, but first we're going to start with a fermented jalapeno and beet hot sauce that'll keep in your fridge all year long and just be boosting up your eggs with flavor. There's very few ways to trap jalapenos, and this is one of them.
Wow, that's amazing. It sounds delicious. So, how will we start?
Well, we're going to start by our ingredients here. So we're going to need about a quart of saltwater brine, which we're going to make. This is just water now, and we're going to add some kosher salt to it. We've got some chilies, some fresh garlic, oregano, some fresh thyme. Steve's got a beet here. And then we're going to prop up this ferment with the naturally occurring lactobacillus bacteria on the back of these baby kale leaves. So not necessarily for flavor, but definitely for funk. So, want to get into it?
Absolutely, I'm in.
Why don't you peel that beet down with a paring knife?
You got it.
Carefully. And I'm going to start by shelling out some of these garlics. So I just like to separate them off of the base of the stem here. Obviously, got our compost handy. And not over my cutting board. I'm kind of far away from it. You can see all the kind of extra soil and skins falling away. So we're not dirtying up our surface. Now I'm just going to take the side of my knife and give a quick little smash there.
Wow, why are you doing that?
Well, I like to get the skins away really simply, and it takes a while to like pick at the outside of garlic cloves like this and pull away little pieces. I mean, obviously this one's working pretty easily. But if you just take the side of your knife, place it on top of their blade away, and just give a quick punch, all of that falls away really, really simply.
Wow.
So that's what I'm after. So I would like to get about 6 cloves of store-bought garlic in here. With the stuff that we're growing out here at Spice Acres, it's pretty large. So I think 4 or 5 would be ample.
Okay.
Oh, that looks great. All right, so here's my peeled garlic. Now I'm going to de-seed some of these chilies. I want to keep the majority of my heat in this hot sauce, but if you don't like super spicy food, you can take the seeds out and that'll drop the Scoville units significantly. So I'm going to show you a little bit of that here.
So, Star, you're slicing north to south on that?
Yeah, so I'm just going from the stem to the tip, straight slice, right? And now I'm going to cut that in half again long ways. And now that's giving me quartered chili peppers. Right? Now I can take that and ride my blade, keeping the flesh, but removing the pith and the seeds. All your capsaicin really lies in the seeds and the pith. And then this is just really a floral pepper flavor. It's pretty painless, actually. There's a little bit of heat, but nothing too crazy.
Wow, all right.
Yeah. So a couple of these we're going to leave like that. We can cut the seeds out if we don't like spice, but this is a hot sauce and I want it to be as hot as possible. So I'm using a mixture of jalapenos here.
Which, by the way, are a fantastic source of vitamin C and fiber.
There you go. There is actually more vitamin C in a chili pepper than there is in an orange. And then we've got some serrano peppers here. Very, very large amount of seed pod. You can see like there's no hollow to the inside of a serrano. There might be in this red one that's just starting to ripen.
So would you pull the same technique for your serrano as you did with your jalapeno by going all the way to quarters?
I would not. These are so small, you're going to be left with so little flesh in the inside. Why don't you try to do it on that one and you'll see what you end up with. Okay.
Almost nothing. It's
Almost
like almost
nothing.
all pith.
Right? So not really worth your time. Also, I leave my stems on my chilies when I do a ferment like this. It all buzzes up in a VitaPrep really well. And there's an enormous amount of heat trapped up in the neck of that, right there where you see the stem meets the pith. That's where it's at, man.
Wow.
That's the action.
Awesome.
Yeah. Why don't you clean that onion down? We're just gonna split them, get the skins off of them, and then we'll cut them in quarters and throw them in. So while Steve's doing that, I'm gonna make this saltwater brine. So the way we have this hot sauce fermenting, this is called a lacto ferment. So we're propping this up with lactobacillus, which is the naturally occurring white mist and kind of film on the back of a leaf of kale. This is wilting a little bit in the sun, but you can see me rubbing that away. That's our lactobacillus. And we use a counterweight so that we're keeping all of the product below the surface of the brine. And so there's no food exposed, so no bacteria can grow outside of the lactobacillus. And lactobacillus actually kills itself in the ferment.
Wow, all right.
You know? So its byproducts are carbon dioxide, which is the bubbles that you can get to come up out of this hot sauce, and lactic acid. When there's enough lactic acid in this brine, it actually stops producing additional bacteria.
So as it turns to like a lactic acid, isn't that your natural, like, what's the word I'm looking for? When you're fermenting it or you're preserving, it's a natural preservative,
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
Wow.
So nothing else can grow in there. So the way we make a 2% brine, you take a quart of filtered spring water, and then we're gonna go with 2 tablespoons.
1,
2 plus 1 teaspoon of salt. So 2 tablespoons plus 1 teaspoon is a 2% brine. And then I just mix it like this, and it'll taste just south of the ocean. It'll be briny, it'll be salty, but it won't be so salty that you can't handle it. So this is also about as salty as you should make your pasta water if you're making something perfect. Great blanch water too.
Nice.
Cool. So we got our brine, we got our products. You ready to make hot sauce?
I am.
Let's do it. Quart down.
It's going right in there with them chilies, folks.
All the seeds.
That's
all
crazy.
the chilies. Got your onions? Quarter those up, would you? I'm gonna make sure my garlics are just cut in half so that they can absorb a lot of this brine. And then we're gonna need a chunk of that beet.
Got it.
I'm gonna take a whole sprig of flowering oregano, just kind of bend it in half there, tuck it in, and then sprig of thyme. I like to kind of rough it up a little bit, kind of break away all of the aromatics, get them moving. Okay, throw some onion in there. This is not exactly science. I mean, it is science, but it's not exact like baking and pastry, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting a lot more chopping, a lot of things like that. Just getting right into it.
Sorry. All right, so now we're just gonna take this beet. This beet is really there just to drive sugars and a little bit of color. As you can see, we get this beautiful pink hue, and I'm gonna show you how we can get multiple uses out of that. So I'm literally just taking 2 chunks of beet and throwing it in there for a little bit of tint. So we're taking this brine, pouring it over the top, and then I take my kale leaves and I like float them on top there. And then the rest of this brine actually becomes our counterweight. How simple is that? So the reason I like to use the salt water as the brine on top as well is because then nothing funky will grow in there. If it's regular water, bacteria can start growing in there, bugs will land in there, all kinds of weird stuff can happen.
All right, so how long are we going to be sitting with our ferment right here?
Well, so as you can see the date on the front of this, I put this one up on the 31st of August, and today is September 11th. So that has been fermenting away for 12 days. The action stopped, and when I mean the action, I mean like the gas is coming off of it. You can come up to this, tap it a little bit, and it'll burp like it just did right there. Huh. The peak of that is happening in about between 5 and 7 days. After about 7 to 9 days, it pretty much just sits there and it's not really actively going anymore. So that will happen to this in a matter of days, and now we're gonna finish this off. So this is kind of a fun part of this journey.
We'll set this up here for folks to
please,
see.
go ahead. There you are. So we're gonna take a Vitamix. Oh, hey now. And this is the best part of this. The way I stop this fermentation action in this hot sauce is actually with an addition of acid and a little bit more salt. And then I'll tune it up for sweetness with honey.
Okay.
Cool? So I'm just using the naturally occurring sugars in that beet and all that, and that's fermented out. That's pretty much done. Now, if I just put straight honey back into that ferment, boom, that thing's gonna turn back on real quick. It's also going to open up a gateway for all kinds of other processes to happen.
Okay.
Because now you're technically you're not just eating the naturally occurring sugars, you're feeding a lot of yeasts really fast. Okay, so this is just the salt water. We're just gonna pitch that out there. And now what I like to do is pour off this amazing liquid.
Look at the colors on that.
This is called kvass, K-V-A-S-S. It's known as a healing tonic. It puts a lot of probiotics into your body, but we only want to use enough of that to get this moving. We're just going to dump all of our veggies in there, our chilies. Man, look at that color. Woo!
Wow.
Pickled onion. Ooh, man, that's hot. All right, so I'm just going to get this moving a little bit. Cut. I never plugged it in.
He's gonna walk off real quick.
All right, so we got all of our pickled veggies and peppers in our VitaPrep, and we're just gonna get it moving. Okay, and we're gonna add as much kvass as we need to. That should do
Crank it up.
So we got a nice puree going here. I think we should taste it.
I'm into it.
Are you ready?
Yep.
All right, here. I'm gonna give you a little. Do it.
Oh
ferment.
man.
Hello. Whew.
Tangy right on the front of your tongue.
There it is.
Boom.
All right. So you want to take a taste of this so you know, number one, what's my heat level? Number two, how bright with acid or sweet do we want to make this? So the salt is going to turn off the ferment, right? So we got to throw a little bit of salt in there to get it to kind of stop or slow down. This is going to be held in your refrigerator for the rest of the year. I'm going to throw, I don't know.
So what helps you
tablespoon and a half.
determine how sweet you want it? Like, how do you like your hot sauce when you're adding these things in? So,
Well, that's a good question. I kind of like balance, right? So if I'm only getting in the front of my mouth right now of heat, and then I'm getting a little bit of funk and salt in the back of my mouth, the way that I'm gonna get that flavor into, like, to spread across my whole palate, I need to carry it there with things, right? So those parts of my palate receive sweetness, the front of my palate, and then the sides of my palate receive acid. So
Okay.
that's my vinegar. So if I don't include these things, that hot sauce is just gonna burn the front of my tongue and then move to the back of my palate, and then I got nothing going on. So we want roundness of this flavor. So I threw in about 1.5 tablespoons of honey, and I'm gonna do about the same of vinegar.
now I noticed you used a cherry vinegar.
I did, from Quarry Hill Orchard.
Does it
Amazing.
matter what kind of vinegar you would use for this?
I mean, I would be going to a natural live vinegar, something with the mother still in it. So like a Bragg apple cider vinegar or a homemade vinegar. I would probably not be putting like distilled white vinegar. That's a cleaning product. It's really not a culinary product. I also would not be putting balsamic vinegar in here because it's going to put that into a very specific direction.
Okay.
So that's just me. So then we're just going to give this a final buzz with the last of our kvass so that we can get it the most out of this. Boom. And here we go. Last step. Notice, this has not been cooked. It has been pickled.
Oh.
Okay. So, there's your hot sauce. So, as you saw, we got about a quart of veggies, right? Got about a quart of hot sauce.
So you wouldn't strain this or do anything like that, huh?
No, I don't think I would. I would probably put it on a burrito. Oh man, it's killer.
All right.
We should write that down. Right?
Buddy,
Yeah,
that's
all
all
day.
right.
All right, sweet.
That's the right amount of heat. Whammy.
Whammy.
There you are. Fermented hot sauce.
Fermented